Happy Sunday, Bears fans! Welcome back to the channel. I'm Harrison Graham, and we've got some breaking news to dive into today regarding the Chicago Bears roster cuts. As the final cuts loom, we've already seen the Bears part ways with 7 players in the first wave of roster trimming. We'll break down who has been cut so far, analyze the implications of these moves, and take a look at who might be next. This is an exciting time for the team, and I'll be here to guide you through every step of the way, keeping you up to date as we move closer to the final 53-man roster. The Bears have already made some cuts, and the moves are starting to make the picture clearer. Among the first cuts announced was Samari Toure, the wide receiver who spent last season on the practice squad after a stint with Green Bay. He wasn't a surprise cut, as he didn't show much during the preseason and had extended playing time deep into the fourth quarter, which often signals a player not in serious contention for the roster. Despite some flashes in camp, Toure couldn't secure a spot on the 53-man roster, and he doesn't seem to be a candidate for the practice squad either. With a solid group of receivers already on the team, including players like Tyler Scott and J.P. Richardson, Toure was always on the fringe. In addition to Toure, the Bears cut 4 defensive backs who were brought in just a couple of weeks ago to help with depth during the preseason. These cuts include Garner, Mark Perry, Millard Bradford, and Caleb Hayes. None of these players had a strong enough camp to make the final roster, and while Bradford might have had a shot due to his experience with the Saints last season, his performance didn't stand out enough. With these cuts, the Bears' safety group is now solidified. The starting duo of Kevin Bard and Jaquan Brisker is locked in, with Jonathan Owens and Elijah Hicks rounding out the depth chart. This move essentially seals the safety position, and no other safeties seem to have the necessary skills to make the roster. The next notable cut was Royce Freeman, the running back who was brought in as a depth piece. Freeman did score a touchdown in the final preseason game, but he wasn't a serious contender for a spot on the roster. With the Bears' depth at running back, including Rashawn Johnson, DeAndre Swift, and Khalil Herbert, Freeman's chances of making the active roster were slim. However, there's still a possibility he could stick around on the practice squad. As he showed some flashes during camp, at the very least, he could provide depth in case of injuries. While Freeman didn't impress enough to make the team, he's a name to watch in the event of another roster move. Chris Glazer, an offensive lineman who got some starting reps in the preseason finale due to injuries, was also cut. Glazer did improve throughout camp, but his performance wasn't strong enough to secure a spot on the roster. He offers positional flexibility, being able to play both guard and center, but he was buried deep on the depth chart. Glazer could still be a candidate for the practice squad, where his ability to play multiple positions could be valuable, but he wasn't going to make the final 53-man roster. As the Bears move closer to finalizing their roster, a few other players are also on the bubble. J.P. Richardson, who had a strong start to camp with a highlight one-handed catch, has since cooled off and is unlikely to make the roster. However, he could be a candidate for the practice squad if the team wants to develop him further. The offensive line remains a bit unsettled, with players like Ricky Stroberg and Doug Kramer still in the mix. Both have been battling injuries, and while they may still have a shot at making the roster, it's unclear if there will be room for them given the team's other needs. In terms of the defensive line, the Bears have some decisions to make regarding players like Chris Williams and Jonathan Ford. Williams has had some flashes as a pass rusher and could be a good option to keep on the final roster. Ford, on the other hand, has been a bit underwhelming and might not make the cut. Similarly, Zach Pickens, another defensive lineman, has had a tough camp and his chances of making the team are slim. The Bears have some solid depth on the defensive line, and Williams seems to be the most likely candidate to secure a roster spot. The linebacker position is another area where there will be some cuts. Power Echols and Swayze Bozeman are both likely to be cut, as neither player has done enough to earn a spot on the team. Carl Jones is another linebacker on the bubble, and with the Bears already having solid depth with T.J. Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, and others, these players will likely be sent packing. However, some could land on the practice squad. At cornerback, Trey Flowers could be on the bubble as well. The Bears are already deep at corner with Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, and Tyreek Stevenson. However, due to injuries at the outside corner position, Flowers could have a small window of opportunity to make the roster, though it's still more likely that he is cut. The Bears could opt to bring him back later if needed, but it seems like he may not have a spot on the initial 53-man roster. With the final cuts coming up soon, the Bears roster is beginning to take shape. Players on the bubble will need to show something special in the next few days if they hope to secure a spot on the team. As we approach the 53-man deadline, there are still plenty of tough decisions to be made. Stay tuned as we continue to break down the roster and provide updates on all the latest moves. To recap, the Bears have already cut Samari Toure, Royce Freeman, Glazer, Garner, Mark Perry, Millard Bradford, and Caleb Hayes. The next few days will be crucial as the Bears finalize their roster and make decisions on who will stay and who will go. Keep an eye on the practice squad, as many of these players may still have a chance to contribute this season. As always, bear down.